You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Today is episode 99, From Paralyzed to Productive, a strategy session with Laura K. Cook. If you are an entrepreneur who wants actionable solutions to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm excited about this episode because you are going to meet our guest, Laura K. Cook. Laura graduated from Converse College in 1998 with a Bachelor's of Fine Arts degree. After years in the design field, she quickly realized that her heart was helping others. This realization led her to the financial services industry. 17 years later, Laura continues to help others by addressing their financial needs, large and small. Since 2013, Laura's focus has been on financial planning needs, annuity analysis, and estate planning. Laura's education in the arts has made her a creative problem solver for unique financial challenges that her clients face. In 2015, Laura started a financial education program specifically designed for women. The program consists of a series of lunch and learn style workshops designed to give women more confidence in their own financial lives and address specific issues surrounding their needs. When listening in on my conversation with Laura, you will discover the best place to start creating efficiency in your workflow, ways to plant seeds for smoother transitions, how releasing old roles can set you free, strategies to minimize the time you are forced to wing it, tips for leveling up your client servicing, and so much more. So let's dive right in and meet Laura. This episode of Productivity Straight Talk is brought to you by my very own signature coaching and training program, Stop, the Entrepreneur's Success Solution. If you are ready to stop struggling in your business and start succeeding, head on over to theproductivityspecialist.com/stop to find out more. Again, that's theproductivityspecialist.com/stop, S-T-O-P. Welcome to Productivity Straight Talk, Laura. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am so great. I'm so happy to have you here today. We got to talk a little bit prior to this session, but you had reached out to me because you're a longtime listener of Productivity Straight Talk. And what you said, you just wanted to go deeper and kind of customize your experience with some of the solutions that I do share on the podcast. So thank you very much for being here today.
Thank
Laura,
you.
can you share with our listeners a bit about yourself and in your own words, like why a strategy session now? What are we going to work on today?
Okay, yes. So I am a financial advisor with Raymond James. I started with them in 2013 as a service associate. So I was doing more servicing clients and some financial planning as well. But in August of 2017, I moved into an advisor role at that time. And there was this shift from being a salaried position to one that's more production driven. So even though it's still corporate, it's more entrepreneurial in nature. So I have the opportunity to be as successful as I want to be. The only thing standing in my way is myself. So, and I found your podcast when I started searching for time blocking, and I found your podcast about a year and a half ago, and I've learned a lot of tips and tricks, and I just want to now take what you've taught me and maybe make it a little bit more specific to my role and the way I do business.
Yes, I love it. And these strategy sessions are the perfect way to do that. Because while I do share a lot of strategies and techniques, I think that oftentimes if you try them and it isn't sticking or you're not getting the exact results, sometimes it's just a matter of tweaking it or doing small shifts. But there's a lot to be said by tailoring and customizing these techniques. So what are we going to talk about today? So of all the things that are going on in your world, what is it that you think that we can make the most use of our time together today?
Okay. So, like I said, I've picked up a lot of tips and tricks just from previous podcasts and then from our internal training as well, with some with Outlook, just little things for time saving or ways to track my activity and how to determine if I'm being busy all day long or if I'm being productive all day long. But there's just a lot still coming at me. We have a pretty big client base. Plus, I'm trying to bring in my own prospective clients as well. And when I find that in the midst of the day and I have a lot coming at me, I revert back to some of my old ways. I don't use that tracking sheet that I have for myself on a daily basis. And, about 3:00 in the afternoon, I'm then trying to piece it back together, trying to remember who I talked to, keep track of who I called. And I feel like that in itself is a big time waster each afternoon.
Yeah. So one of the things that you said is that you feel like you have all of these strategies and ways of doing things that are very effective, but not particularly useful when you feel like high stressed or the business or your day increases, right? So almost like under pressure, those things that work well kind of go out the window. Is that, I'm paraphrasing, but is that correct?
That's right. I might have a sheet on my desk that's telling me, here's your priorities for the day. But then if too much comes at me, sometimes I'll be sitting in front of my inbox and I almost feel paralyzed. Like, why was I in here? Why did I come in here to begin with? Because then you have all these new emails that you haven't read and just things like that kind of throw me off. And I don't have a system in place that kind of grabs my attention and gets me going back in the right direction again.
Okay. All right. So I want to start this off by saying that I am so happy that you're bringing this to a strategy session, especially an on-air strategy session, because I know without a doubt, there are many, many people that are experiencing this thing, that the same exact thing. And in fact, earlier in my years, I think I did the same thing where we know what works, we know what's best for us, but in high stress or high impact, we revert back. Right. I actually do that. I will find myself multitasking. Now, this is a girl that is like read books for fun about the horrors of multitasking, right? And I teach people about how bad multitasking is. And I always have to chuckle at myself because I find that it's the same triggers that take me back to an old habit or old way. The difference is that I catch it and I correct it far, far faster than I had before. And the reason I share that with you and with our listeners is because I don't want to go into this conversation thinking that we are going to find a magic bullet that suddenly you are going to follow your routines no matter what situation, what curveball life throws you, because I think that that's setting us up for disappointment. So my goal as we go through this is to figure out how can we identify when that's happening, course correct faster and quicker to get back on track. And then at some point, maybe so much time will go by between these times of where you're like, oh man, I'm reverting back to my old ways.
Right. Okay? That sounds great.
So I just wanted to be on the same page so that we're not having these expectations that we're going to fix and then suddenly never again will you multitask or never again will you not work off your task list.
Right. No, I understand that. Even the fact I think that I realized that I'm paralyzed for a minute and not able to move to the next productive activity, that is extreme progress for me because I've never thought about work in this way.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive in because I have found that there are multiple reasons why this might happen. So we're just going to kind of figure out like why this happens and what situations this happens. So explain to us. So you mentioned a piece of paper that you document your lead generation. Is that correct? Your calls?
Yes, I would say it's lead generation would be a good way to describe that. We track so many calls out to prospective clients, so many calls out to existing clients? Did I meet somebody new that day at a networking event? Did I have a meeting with a client? All of those things would be considered productive activity that would end up on that sheet. Servicing existing clients, while important, is not tracked as a production activity unless it is opening a new account or it's bringing in new money. However, servicing those clients takes a large part of the day too. So I think it's in those activities where I kind of get lost and can't get back to doing something productive when I realize that there's a problem with an existing client and it feels like it needs to be taken care of right away.
Okay. So when these days happen where you feel like you're living in more of the servicing your client bucket, is it that you don't want to use the checklist at all, or that there's really not much to report and that's why it's not being used? I just want to make sure I'm clearly understanding.
Okay. A little bit of both. I think that on days when there's a lot of client servicing going on, there's not going to be a lot to report. But at the same time, a lot of times I might do something for an existing client considered servicing. The next activity might be something considered productive. And it's so back and forth like that and so fast from one activity to another that I'm not in a pattern to stop and recognize, oh, I did something productive. I need to make sure I document that. I just keep taking one thing after another and not keeping track as I'm going.
Okay. I have a couple ideas and I want to run those by you.
Yes.
In my world, I'm assuming this is a company sheet that's identifying what's considered productive and not, correct?
Mainly, yes.
Okay. So I 100% get that they're tracking revenue generating activities,
yes,
which I agree with. In my world, I define it with 4 buckets of productive activities.
Okay.
I'm going to go through those 4 buckets with you and then kind of tie this together. So the 2 buckets that I think that you don't have right now, well, you may. So marketing and visibility is like networking events, right? Like you're getting out there, you're letting people know what you do. That's considered a productive activity. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes.
And then the next bucket is having sales conversations. So that is perfect. They're saying it's an opportunity for someone to open an order with you.
That's right.
Okay. The third bucket is actually servicing your clients. Now, this bucket right now on your sheet is probably a lot of the place where you're living, but it's not technically within your culture and your company, perhaps highest value, meaning it's not immediate money. Of course, it's important to service your clients. Now,
correct.
Then the fourth bucket is leadership. And that's when you live in that, when you're, building up your team and such.
Right.
So let's just take the first 3 buckets for you.
Okay.
What if you just created another sheet that sat next to your other sheet that was the company one, where you could document how much time you were spending in servicing clients, and you saw that as like your 3 buckets of productivity? Because whether it's something that gets documented and reported up to other people,
sure,
it's far different than you're keeping people happy. They're more apt to open more orders with you. They're more apt to, send you referrals. It's the long-term game.
Right.
So, but what if you're living in that, say, for the morning, 2 or 3 hours? Then it's almost like what sheet? Where you're like it's not even, you're not even thinking about it because you kind of broke that habit of do, document.
Right. Yes.
Would it work if I'm assuming you can't alter that sheet. So if you just added another sheet that sat next to it and you kept the do, document, and you're documenting for yourself.
Yes.
For me, I think that's going to do a couple things. One is it will be far more accurate, that you're not going to miss things on the productive sheet. And then you're not spending time at the end of the day trying to backtrack and figure out what you did.
Yes. Okay.
2, is we can document, you and I. If I was your coach ongoing, I would say, I want to know how much time is being spent in the servicing bucket.
Sure.
Because then we're going to have future conversations about, well, how can we create more efficiency? Are we seeing the same issues come up? Can this be resolved in any way? Because now you're documenting it. And
Yes.
if I were to say, oh my gosh, Laura, you're spending so much time in servicing and it's actually stealing you from, having sales conversations. Now we have that data back to us to figure out what's happening. So I think it's a really good idea to document.
Okay. I love that idea because I can see that if I make that a habit for every person I talk to, they're either going on servicing or production. Eventually, I think it will become more of a habit for me because I'm doing it for everybody, not just half of the people I'm talking to. I love that. That's a great idea.
So the trigger is I talk to somebody. It's got to go somewhere, right?
Right.
And when we're looking at creating habits, when it's inconsistent, right, it kind of messes us up. It's the same reason why we're so tempted to lose our habits after vacation. It's that interruption, right?
Yes.
And so, or the fact that, for some people, it's better to work out 30 minutes, 5 days a week than an hour and a half, 2 or 3 days a week, because for them, it's holding that spot in their morning routine on a consistent basis, right?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I think, again, this is just a small tweak, but the tweak is actually going to give you some probably really great data. The other thing that I think that will happen is that, I talk a lot about mindset.
Yes.
And if at the end of the day, your sheet just doesn't have that much on the production sheet, we'll call it the production sheet, and you're thinking, where did my day go? Oh my gosh, this just wasn't, a great day, or whatever conversations happen in our head. I want you to be able to look at the servicing client sheet and be like, you know what? I was on it. I had clients that needed me. I solved 4 problems. My clients are happy, and tomorrow's another day.
Yes, I think I would benefit from seeing that activity also. But like you say, especially on a day when my production sheet looks low and I know that I was there for 8 or 9 hours.
Right. So this is for me, again, because I'm very specific that our high value, most productive activities are falling as entrepreneurs in one of those 4 categories.
Yes.
Then if you look at your sheets at the end of the day and you did not solve that many service client issues and you didn't have that much production, now we also have data that says, hey, Laura, okay, we can't blame this on X, Y, and Z. They're telling us it was busy work. It was emails. It was whatever can fill our days. And we all have a long list of things that can fill our day that don't fall into those buckets.
Right. That sounds great.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. So let's talk about somewhere else that you feel that you kind of throw it out the window when, you get busy or you're stressed, or where else are you experiencing something similar?
Okay. So another part of this, I suppose, and, I want to make sure that I'm clear that client servicing is very important to me. It's only as a new advisor that I'm really having to track the production, that's, I have certain goals in that area. So eventually I won't have to do that. And it will be back to more client servicing, maybe less entrepreneur. We'll make that switch, I hope, down the road. So in addition to bringing in new clients, I'm on a team and we have about 1,000 clients. That's about 400 households. And I'm responsible for servicing about 200 of those. So one thing I'm trying to figure out is there's a capacity issue already, I feel like. So how I can provide I want to provide a level of service to all of those clients. It can be fair, but it doesn't have to be all the same. Different people are going to need different things and require different amounts of time. So I would like to figure out how to maybe do some templates so that I know everybody's getting looked at without having to say, email these people individually all the time.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I've worked with many financial advisors in the past, but the listeners probably aren't clear. So give us a little more detail as what does servicing 200 households mean?
Sure.
I'm going to make some guesses, but I'm thinking that means like annual reviews. Do they want any changes? Do they need any money out of their accounts? Like, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
That is right.
Fill in the blanks. What else would come up when you're servicing these clients?
Sure. So we try to be really proactive as well. So not only is it a client initiated review or conversation, but I want to be able to go into these accounts on a regular basis, and I want to look for things. Do we need to make changes? Has something happened in their life that I know this account doesn't reflect? And then not only do I want to do that activity, but I want to then share that information with the client, even if it's just an email, letting them know, hey, I reviewed your account. Everything looks good. There's nothing you need to do right now. Additionally, coming out of the end of 2018, we also wanted to be very proactive about our thoughts on market activity, where we thought the economy was going, trying to address client fears and keep those at a minimal, make sure they understand there's a plan in place so that they weren't getting scared about what's going on. And so just figuring out a way to put some processes in place to effectively communicate all of those different types of things from time to time to that many people, I think that will be very helpful now and then help me to grow in the years to come too.
Yes. Yes to all of that. Okay. So I'm thinking in my head, we are going to look at this in two different ways. One is your proactive way. So we're going to identify, I would say, your top 3 to 5 reasons you're proactively reaching out to clients. And then I want us to identify 3 to 5 ways that you're reactively interacting with clients. So what are the most common reasons people are calling you? They need to cash out, whatever. I'm going to let you tell me.
No, that would be right. I think the ones that I get calls from or emails from, the majority, they need some sort of transaction. They have a need for cash. There needs to be a trade placed to make that cash available.
Yep.
That would probably be the main one. Other people will call us, we are full financial planners. So anything that has to do with money, we've opened that door for our clients to call in. Sometimes they're considering making a purchase, so they'll call to get our opinion on that. That happens a good bit. A lot of our clients are in contracts, or they have, could be life insurance, things that they get correspondence about that they don't really know what to do with sometimes, and we'll review that. I would say those are probably the 3 biggest. They need cash. They're considering something that would require cash and want some advice, or they've received a piece of mail and don't know what to do with it.
Okay, so let's take those 3 and then we'll go to the proactive ones.
Okay.
So the first one, in the need cash back, what I'm looking to do right now is brainstorm ways to create efficiency and workflow. Some of it's going to be templates. What is the game plan? Because if you can create the most efficiency with these 3 things that happen most commonly, that's where you'll be able to buy back time to then have invest it in other activities, right?
Sure. Okay.
Whenever we are looking at creating efficiencies in our business, the best place to start is where there's the most repetitive activities. Because if I could show you how to reclaim back 5 minutes for and that doesn't seem like that much, right? But then you multiply it by 10 or 15 calls that you're getting about cash out, or emails that you're getting about cash out, that's where you see a lot of compounded effect of these small efficiencies. Sometimes we create so much efficiency that when it compounds, we're like, oh my gosh, and we see a lot of wins on it. So, okay, so let's take the cash. So they're calling or they're emailing.
Yes.
You have your particular thing that you need to do, like open up the account, see what their options are. Is this all happening on that same call? Or do you say, like, if I were to call you, would you say, great, Mr. or Mrs. Smith, let me research that and we'll get back to you? Or is this something that happens like right when they call?
Typically, it's right when they call.
Okay.
There have been occasions where it wouldn't be, but typically that decision can be made right away.
Okay, excellent. And is this something that you are available to? And this is just an overall productivity question. Like, anytime a client calls between office hours, are you always available? So you could be doing like deep work or something like a project, and then they call and now you've totally had to shift gears?
Yes and no. There are times when it would need to be done right then, so we deal with stocks, obviously. So if it requires a stock trade, because those prices are changing every second, that would be a complete break in activity. Mm-hmm. If it's not a stock trade, then it could wait, to the end of a 30-minute session or something like that. I think part of the issue for me is money movement is the biggest. To me, it's the most important client servicing activity that we have. So I have a hard time postponing any of them for fear that I will forget to go back and do it. Like, it's such a priority in my head. I've always been willing to stop whatever it was I was doing to make sure that happened.
Okay. So when you mentioned all three of these ways that people are contacting you, do you have a receptionist or someone that's filtering that and they say this is a money move call or this is like a contract review call? Do you know when you pick up the phone?
Not always. So they call directly into my line typically. And I guess another aspect of this is that my first role on this team was to handle those money movements as part of my role there. Now I have somebody else that I can push those calls back to. But so many of our clients have my number. They still call or they still email me directly, so that's created a little bit of an issue. There is somebody else that can do it. It's just getting to a place where I can get those calls back to her.
We just hit gold and you don't even know it. Okay, so this other person, we'll call her Sue. I don't know what her name is, but Sue's, I'm assuming her position, which was yours at one time, is that her primary job is to be available and answering calls and so that she can react to the requests of the clients quickly, right?
Sure. Yes, that's right.
So does your voicemail say, and if I'm unavailable and this requires money movement or whatever the correct language is?
It says that.
Sue,
yes.
Now?
Yes.
It does?
It does.
So why do you feel that you still need to answer every call to see if it's a money move call?
That's a good question.
Does your email, do you have an email autoresponder that says the same?
No, that one does not. I don't really have an auto response on my email unless I'm out on vacation or something like that. So,
do you believe that if someone needed money immediately, they would call versus email?
I think if they emailed me and they didn't get a response, then they're going to then call.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe we don't need an autoresponder, but we do probably, it's still gold. I'm going to tell you why, because we all have people around us that are capable. And yet because we are comfortable, we hold on to it.
Yes.
I was just having this conversation with my husband at dinner last night. I was saying, I am feeling a rumbling. I'm going to have another hire in my business. He's like, oh, really? And I was like, well, yeah, I'm really, really talented at the wrong shit. Like, that's dangerous, meaning I know how to do these things. I can do them with my eyes closed. It's a very comfortable space for me. But I am clear that I can stay in this box or I can move to the next box.
Yes.
Laura, you got a promotion. You need to be fully in your promotion, even though money movement is a very comfortable place and you could do it with your eyes closed and you know how to handle it.
Right.
So long as you still have one foot there and not allowing somebody to help you with that fully, you're going to keep seeing that show up on those little reports I asked you to document.
Okay. Yeah. I just hearing myself talk, I can see that there would be ways to get Sue to politely screen some of those calls or just have my calls forwarded to her at all times. And then the ones that really need to speak to me, she can push on to me. Otherwise, she can just handle it because that's what she's doing all day anyway.
Right.
Right.
See, okay, Laura, we didn't even have to wait for you to document all your service time.
Sure. Right.
You're still going to do it. But I knew that fast forward 30 days, 45 days, if we looked at your service time, I would want to dig deeper and I would have found this out. I would have said, oh, so you must be the only one that can move money for your clients. And you would have said, well, no. And I'm going to say, but I see it on your log instead of these other activities. Right. And so we already shortcutted that. So that's great. We're going to find more.
Good.
Okay. So we were looking for some sort of template or efficiency. And I think we came to the answer that you're going to forward your calls. The real solution is that you are her backup now. She is not your backup for money movement.
Okay. I like that.
Awesome. Okay. So then number 2 was they received some, I don't know if it was 2 or 3, but the next one that I remember is that they received something in the mail and they want advice.
Yeah. So with that, so even though there are clients, if you have certain investments with certain companies, that company will send correspondence directly to the client. Sometimes they receive it before we've received a copy of it.
Yeah.
So they're kind of catching us off guard. They've received this thing from this company. What does it mean? Do they need to do something? Can they just shred it, basically?
Great. And so these are calls and emails that are coming in. And again, so one of the things that I teach my clients is the 4 Ds. We won't go into all of them, but one of them is you're asking yourself, it's a D for delegation, right? So do you need to be the one to do this? So these calls come in. Is this your role?
I would imagine I probably hold on to that a little bit more than I should, that I could probably delegate it to someone else to research, find out what it was, and let the client know if it's something they need to respond to.
Okay.
Instead of me doing it.
Right. And I was also thinking that maybe you are the one with the answer, but they caught you off guard. So can someone filter, would you mind scanning that in and sending it to us to review? And they do your research for you. And then you're giving your client like the advice, right? That's why they're coming to you, as whatever particular advice. And maybe there's going to be times that Sue or someone else can answer that, but there's a lot of steps that are actually taking your time, but your true value is the interaction with the client.
Yes.
And I've worked with other people that are saying, that could be delegated, but at the end of the day, like, I feel like if my clients call in, they want to hear my voice because it's building that relationship. So how can you kind of break that work if that's true to you and that's how you feel? In other cases, I say, okay, how can we break that up? Can someone answer the call, ask for a copy of it or what's the information, give them the outline, and then someone's briefing you, and then you're doing the fun stuff, which is like, hi, Mr. Smith, I just wanted to get back to you. I know you got that letter, no big deal. My team and I know about it. Go ahead and shred it.
Sure.
That's 90 seconds and you gave your client the warm and fuzzy and you're on and off. But it probably took, 5, 10, 15 minutes by the time you have the client on the phone. They're not sure what they're explaining to you. They send it, they email it, you research it, like the whole thing. Is that an option that would work for you?
I think on most things it could be. There could be some correspondence that maybe it's a little more in depth and I need to figure out what's going on.
Absolutely.
But I think as a general rule, the things that pop into my mind that people would get, somebody else, we have a whole back office of people that know what's going on. So somebody could just as easily call them as easily or more easily than I could myself.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's funny you're giving this example and I do it to my insurance company all the time. I get some random thing and I call my insurance agent. I never speak to him. I'm really friendly with the other staff. They're always able to get me the answer. And at the end of the day, I just want an answer, right? So in a timely manner. So I think this is a really, really good solution.
Yeah. I think too, one thing that you're making me think of is, making sure that when I'm talking to clients, that I really display a strength between me and Sue, and that she and I are a team, even though we have different roles, that we are communicating with one another so that clients don't feel like they've been handed off to somebody else. I feel like that's something that I'd like to work on, is making sure I communicate that. I think that would make all of these things acceptable to clients who haven't been used to that in the past.
Yes. Can I give you some examples or like ways to do
Please.
that? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm assuming that you have a initial meeting with the clients. They're coming to your office and they're meeting you or something.
That's right.
I have recommended, so I'm going to recommend to you the same, is that you do all the things you do and you get everything and you say, great, before you leave, I would like you to meet Sue. Sue handles, those things you get in the mail or anytime you want money and you're giving them real life examples. And
Yes.
Sue, she is so happy to help you. Let me just put a face to a name, and you bring her in and she's out.
I love it. Yes.
If she's unavailable because she's helping somebody move money or whatever,
Right.
they'll just say, and I just want to let you know that it's not just me and we are here to give great service. And so Sue is on my team and she helps with these types of things. You got to seed it so that when they call, now they're not going to remember because it's going to be 6 months, a year when they need money or they get something in the mail, but you're seeding it.
Right.
So that when they get the call and Sue says, great, that's something I can help you with, they're like, oh, of course she can.
Sure. I love it.
All right. So, and you can just get really creative with that too. Sometimes if you have clients that don't come into the office, it's a email or a letter introducing your team.
Okay.
I just, I'm so happy that you became a client. And I want to let you know that it's not just me. You've chosen a great company, you've chosen a great team, and here's who's on my team to help you with that.
Okay. That was what I was going to ask, a way to start incorporating this with clients that have been around for a while, how to help them to see that differentiation. So that's great. Thank you.
Kind of like I'm not always great with my words, but, something like, just so you know all the ways that we can help you, or I don't know, here's some common reasons you would contact my office. And I want to let you know there's a team here to support you. And I just want to introduce you. Sue's been with the company for 5 years and this is what she does. And John's been here and this is whatever that looks like.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Just get creative with it.
Sure. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And then also, because you're going to have some clients that call back all the time, is, maybe Sue handled them on the front end, right? And then you're making that 90-second call. That's like, okay, great. You can seed it then, oh, I'm so happy you got to talk to Sue and she let me know what was going on. And here's what we decided, whatever. Like, just kind of like hat tipping that Sue handled it completely. Like, she's the best person to tell these things to. And she lets me know when I need to get involved, or whatever your own words are.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And so it may take a little time here in the beginning to get our clients used to that. But I would assume that over time, I would be making that little speech less and less often, I would hope.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. That's great.
And it could be subtle things, on your voicemail. I don't know what it says now, but for the quickest response and for us to help you with anything, please contact Sue. Like, it needs to be of interest to them, because if not, they want to talk to you. They're your client. So you have to give them some reason why it's really good to talk to Sue. Okay. And then what was the other reason that people call in most often for service things?
Okay. So that would be perhaps they're considering doing a transaction fairly large, and they want advice about what's the best way to fund it, or any ideas we have about funding something. That would be another call that we get. It's not an immediate money movement. It's more about planning, having a discussion about what they want to do down the road.
How do you currently handle those now? Is it in real time? Like, they call and you have that discussion now, or are you rescheduling a call with them?
Typically, well, I guess it would depend on how in depth the request was. Typically, we try to handle them right then when the client calls in. Obviously, if they request an appointment, we'll set something up. Or if we feel like it's going to be really in-depth, we'll set something up. But if it could probably be handled in 20 minutes, we would probably do it right away.
How do you feel about that?
I feel unprepared. I would feel unprepared in those situations.
Yeah. Like you're winging it, right? To give them a solution now.
Right.
Would you feel that it would be appropriate to get information from them and then schedule your recommendation? Even if it's later in the day or the next day or something. And it almost sounds like an inefficient way of doing it, right? Like now you can have them on and you're doing it and it's a total of 20 minutes, but now this is like hearing them and then doing your research and then asking to call them back. But this is when my gut's telling me efficiency is probably not the end goal here. It's to give extreme, wonderful customer service. You're confident because you've been able to prepare. And now you have more time to do so because we figured out how someone else can help with these other two major things, right?
Right.
So then my question to you would be, could Sue gather enough information that you could do enough research to then get on a call? Or do you need to be the person that's getting the information from the client?
Sometimes both, but I would say the ones that are coming to mind, I would need to be the one on the call just because of the difference in experience levels. She might not know some of the questions to ask, but I do think that we've set a precedent that when people call, they get immediate attention right away.
Yep.
And that is because of the way that we want to service them. But I think that it would be fine for me to be on the call to gather the information, ask the right questions, then cut it off and schedule a time to go deeper and have some research or some solutions. I think, like you say, a lot of it, I think, is shifting from this mindset of efficiency is the best way to be serviceable to really slowing down and being more thoughtful about everything we say.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing here is just a recommendation is that you're going to create a form that has the repetitive questions that you're going to ask. Okay. Now, you may go through the form and it's like obvious question 3 doesn't have to be asked. Sure. What I want it to be is it all inclusive, kind of in the order that you would normally ask the questions. Okay. I mean, in the best way you can. And you're going to use that as a trigger. That in itself is going to expedite the phone call. And you're going to have it at your fingertips, like right by your desk or your drawer. And you get one of those calls, you pull out the form, you put the client's name on it, you ask the questions, you write it all down. What that's going to do is you're now in control of the conversation. Yes. Great. Okay. So let me ask you some questions so that I can do research and give you my recommendations. Right. And then they sit back and now they're just answering your questions. You'll be able to get them on and off the call and more thorough and know that you asked all the questions instead of having to call them back and, I forgot to ask this question. Sure. Those are a lot of benefits. But the second benefit is now it's something that is repetitive, trainable. Right. You're going to work this process and system until you've got, you're going to work on version 1 and then you're going to get on a call and you're like, I forgot that question. You'll do version 2, version 3. That's fine. Once you feel like you got it solid, now you can look at maybe training Sue to give her the form to fill out. And now you get the form and now you do the research and you call the client. That sounds great. So it's not like a solution today. You're going to have to work the process in the system. Right. Now you're going to have something that can be trained to someone else. That sounds good. I like that idea. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. So I think you get how I just totally took these 3 things. And I initially said, hey, let's take 3 to 5 things that are reactive, 3 to 5 things that are proactive. For the time that we have, your homework is going to kind of leave all the listeners and what did she come up with? But I want you to do, and you're going to get a recording of this, right? So I want you to now that you're not in it and you're watching it, you're going to see how I was asking questions and looking at things a little bit differently. I want you to do the same thing to your 3 proactive activities that are repetitive. Okay.
No, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're going to look at what forms can you create, what templates can you do, the things that you want to be proactive on. Consistency is the game. The more consistently you can be proactive, what that's doing is stopping the calls coming in, the I don't know something, or because the more we live in the proactive place of servicing our clients, the less fires we have to put out.
Right.
Okay.
Now, this has been helpful. Thank you. I've been trying to create templates, and from what I hear of other entrepreneurs that are being very successful, they have systems that they know by heart. They have a lot of templates in place. And so I've started to use templates, but I think I was using templates in areas that maybe weren't that unproductive to begin with. Like it never occurred to me to do templates about stuff coming in at me. I was only doing templates for stuff that I initiated.
Right.
So this is a good shift.
Okay, awesome. Well, I am so happy. So what was the most valuable thing to you? I know you kind of just said that to you is that shift, but like, what are you going to go take action on immediately after today's session?
So one, we're going to update my voicemail to make sure it says, if you need money movement, dial 1 for Sue or something like that. And then release probably some of the control that I have on money movements, things that, like you said, and that have been said to me in the past, that were part of an old role that I can now give to someone who's in that role so that I can do what I've been hired to do.
Yeah.
And then I really feel like for our client base, I really want to show consistency, show confidence in Sue, that she is an integral part of the team. She's very capable. Talking to Sue is as good as talking to me because we're in such close communication. I think that will be really beneficial down the road, especially.
Absolutely. And I just want to revisit the tracking of the servicing the client stuff. And so I don't know how you're currently tracking your production, where it's just tick off boxes, like you're just ticking it off or whatever. When I asked you what your 3 major things were, it sounded like you knew them very, very well. So maybe you put those 3 things on the servicing clients and you tick those off. And your goal is to get less ticks over time. Because if you're getting less ticks over time for a money movement and answering, I got something in the mail, and then at least those 2 things, then you know that you're moving in the right direction with delegating those off to Sue. And then inevitably that should be showing up in more ticks on the other sheet of lead generation, opening accounts, these types of things. So I want you to visually be able to see that and track your progress.
That sounds good. I like that.
And then have another, like an other place on that form, because then I want you to see if you're seeing any other kind of patterns of maybe there's a 4th reason people are consistently calling you. And then your job's going to be, how do I create efficiency? Am I the right person? And you're going to go down the same thing with the 4th reason people call you.
Okay, that sounds good. So I just can kind of take this exercise for anything else that starts to come to the surface and see how we can get it off my plate on somebody else's.
Yes. And creating efficiency that if you're the one doing it, it is the most effective and efficient way to do it.
Okay. That sounds good. Thank you. I'm so excited.
You're welcome. This has been a pleasure. And I just have to let our listeners know, I'll probably say this in the outro. We did not know what direction we were going. We jumped on the pre-call. We talked for about 5 minutes. And I'm going to tell the listeners right now what I told her is, as long as you have an intention for our time together, it is my job to just show up, hear, see things that you don't see, offer solutions, ask questions that make you see something differently. My whole goal is just to provide value. And nobody quite knows what that was 45 minutes ago or an hour ago. But inevitably, at the end of every strategy session, I'm always so excited to see what kind of breakthroughs there are with tweaks. And so thank you for being here. Thanks for being open to being on the podcast. And it is always my pleasure. I absolutely love doing these sessions.
I can tell. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me this week for my special on-air strategy session episode. Do you want your own strategy session? Of course you do. One strategy session could provide you with the breakthrough you and your business deserve. To find out more and book your strategy session, go to theproductivityspecialist.com/strategy session. I have loved having you listen to Productivity Straight Talk, but I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So based on what you learned today, listening in on my strategy session with Laura, what will you take action on today? What were some big ahas or small ahas? What is something that you noted to yourself, oh my gosh, I want to go execute this right away? You know, I actually had a strategy session with someone yesterday morning, and she told me that she is so excited about how actionable this podcast is, and it motivates her to go take action on whatever episode she's listening to. That was the biggest compliment I could have ever received, because that is my goal. I don't think any of us need any more just information. I think information, in addition to action, is going to create the real change that we deserve. So I want you to get really clear before you go on about your day about what action you will take. I have a special thank you going out to Janelle Blakely, who did an on-air strategy session with me recently. She said, I was blown away by Amber's ability to extract the true cause of inefficiencies and create a new plan based on what's already working. While the challenges I presented during my strategy session were geared towards my home life, she quickly recognized success in my business and translated them into my home life. She encouraged me to utilize my existing resources in a new way, allowing me to make progress in areas that were previously stalled. Amber recommended using my business manager for my business to debrief all of my personal tasks and allow her to help me manage them and take ownership of many, which she's happy to do. It has been a game changer. In the week to follow our strategy session, my son's birthday party was booked, invitations sent, and cake ordered. All I had to do is answer a few questions. We now meet weekly to go over home-related tasks she can take off my plate, which leaves me more room to build my business. I highly recommend working with Amber for some out-of-the-box thinking that will have a real impact on your life and business. Thank you so much, Janelle, for, leaving that amazing review and feedback. If this sounds like something that would help you or that you would want, then head on over to theproductivityspecialist.com/strategy session to find out more and book your session today. Again, that's theproductivityspecialist.com/strategy session. So that's my straight talk for you today. Until next time, have a productive week.